Thank you for joining us for yet another program of Beyond the Title, a program where we look at and take a deep dive into the lives of new ministers of government since President Ali was re-elected just a few weeks ago. Joining us in studio for another conversation, and an interesting conversation on who she is and what she will be bringing to the table in this new ministry, is the Minister of Amerindian Affairs, the Honorable Sarah Browne. Minister Browne, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much, Shaquan, for having me.
Yeah. Let's start here. So, many people in a lot of the hinterland communities, they know you, but there are some individuals, maybe a little more on the coast, that may not be familiar with who Sarah Browne is. So, of course, my first question has to be, who is Sarah Browne?
Well, that's a very complex question because I'm a very complex person.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, for those who know me, would know that for me, I come from very humble beginnings. First and foremost, I am a mom. I have 3 kids. I'm married. But beyond that, I started my life in one of the largest Amerindian villages in the country, and that's Santa Rosa, way up in Region 1. And so that's where I started, would have attended school, and back then it was so different, not the Morocco or the Santa Rosa we know today. And so, like every other Amerindian girl, we would have had the same struggles. Living in the hinterland, not so much as the hinterland we know today, but at that time, as I reflect on where I came from, and I would have said before that of all the things or my achievements and that I'm proud of, I'm most proud of being an Indigenous woman.
Yeah.
And that is because, well, we as Indigenous people, we have a very strong culture, and our way of life is what defines us. And so like the other young Amerindian women of my time, we grew up, well, my mom was a teacher, and so that would have been a little advantage to me, having a mom as a teacher. But the struggles were very much the same. At that time, many of us would have had to, living on the riverbanks. We had to paddle to school every day, of course. In the dry weather, we would walk the savannas to get home. And it was much happier then, but way different than the life we know today.
Yeah.
So like all of the programs that the government we're implementing now, we did not have access to those things, like the hot meal program. I mean, at that time, there was no meal to give to children. So like for many of us who came from far, maybe 1 meal a day. At that time, like a simple footwear was not a luxury, right? It was not. It's something that many of us didn't know about. And so yeah, that's really where I came from.
So how did this kind of, and you described it as a humble beginning, how do you think this kind of upbringing shaped you into who you are today?
Well, for me, I would never change my upbringing because those are the happiest memories that I have. Childhood, fishing, farming with my grandparents, listening to the stories of maybe Kanaima, of Watamuma, and those were interesting days. I remember, sometimes laying in the evening and then hearing of the Watamuma and how, different the Wijili, that's the spirit with the backward feet, and I would not change that for anything. And I think that actually growing up makes me the person I am today.
No, you, notwithstanding that you paint these pictures as if it was a long time ago, you're a relatively young person.
Yes.
And now you have been given a large portfolio, being responsible for the affairs of the indigenous people of this country, and you're young doing that. What do you think this says about President Ali and the kind of confidence that he's shown in the fact that young people can lead and serve at even a high level?
Yeah, so I always really love to tell that story, because I think it's not only one that persons should be inspired by, but it really tells truly who we are as a party, and more so the confidence that President Ali places in young people. And so I started as a young leader, political activism about 12 years ago, and at the age of 23, I was given the portfolio of vice chairman for Region 1. And A reporter many years ago asked me that same question, what's more challenging? And I would have thought about it, and is it what's most challenging, being young and or being a woman or being indigenous? There's all of this, but it's really motivates you to know that your leaders would place confidence in you as young people. And wherever I go, and especially along this campaign trail, I campaigned wholeheartedly for Dr. Irfan Ali, not because I wanted something, but because I really believe that the vision that Dr. Irfan Ali has for Guyana, for young people, for indigenous people, it's something that I was really anxious to be a part of, no matter what role I played in the government. But my being here, it's a testimony that we don't only walk the walk, talk the talk, but we also walk the talk.
Yeah.
And it says that we're a party that can be trusted. When we say we're for young people, it's obvious we're for young people. And so going forward, I think that young people are not just being young too, but across all races. And it shows that as an Amerindian woman, youth, we're not left behind in terms of any sector governance. Whatever the government is doing, we're well involved and we're well informed, and we make use of that.
That's very important. What would you say to any young Amerindian woman looking at this now and maybe being a little inspired by your story?
Yeah, so I always, as I would have said to the children who the ministry, we're having a tour for some children from Massa Canary that are in Georgetown, and I would have said to them yesterday that very much like you, a young Arawak girl many years ago, when I would have maybe been in a classroom, but by so much limitations, being faced with so much limitations, I never knew that one day I would be holding this portfolio of representing my people everywhere. And so at that time it was much more difficult, but nonetheless, coming all the way from Santa Rosa, I did it, and so can you.
So can you.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit about the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs, Minister. Big portfolio, responsible for making sure that the development of the indigenous people are taken care of. LCDS, the Amerindian Development Fund, land titling, which is big. What do you envision yourself doing, or how do you see yourself building on the foundation that was already laid by your previous minister, and even improving on what was already done in the next 5 years?
So, for those who are at the swearing-in would have already heard His Excellency give us a really, a charge, I'd want to say, a tall task of, ensuring that the next 5 years are people-oriented, it's driven, and that, we achieve the objectives of what we set out. Not only in terms of Sarah, but in terms of what President Ali's vision for Guyana, and that I be a part of that. And so, we have already been to the polls with a manifesto, and that manifesto would have been, what the people would have looked at, they liked what they saw, and they voted for that manifesto. And for the hinterland, we made commitments. Of course, land titling is number one on our agenda. Support for youth, for women, in different aspects, whether it's small projects, we had our commitments. And first and foremost, we always pride ourselves as a party and a government that delivers on our commitments. So, we'll start from there and ensuring that the promises that we made, that they're fulfilled. But Ministry of Amerindian Affairs and many people, there's a saying that, if you don't live in the house, you don't know where it leaks. And for Amerindian people, this ministry is a very important ministry for us because it's where we get our funding. The funding is channeled through accountability, governance, oversight of villages. Welfare is also something we look at because people don't know, but sometimes, our brothers, they come to town for different reasons and they encounter difficulties. Our ministry usually reaches out, help persons who, are faced with difficult circumstances. And, we don't really go out there and have that on Facebook, but it's being done. We help people every day. Or we have an Amerindian hostel. We have a lot of work to do, yes, but, we're working. But there's a lot of things that we do behind the scenes that affects people directly, but we don't put it out there. And sometimes when we help, in these circumstances, not for the likes and Facebook, but it's because real people need real help, and we do it every day.
Yeah, really good stuff. Minister Browne, I want to thank you for spending the last few minutes with me here in studio. Any final comments from you before we leave?
Of course, in closing, I'd like to say that I'm at the Ministry of Amerindian Affairs. I'm open, and I know I can't do this alone, as I always say, and nothing I achieve in life, I didn't do it alone. There were many persons who were behind me, who were there for me, who were rooting for me always to succeed. And I'd like to have that kind of relationship. And like I committed, I'll be there, I'll be building bridges. And, I'm open to suggestions, especially from the young people, on what we want to see our ministry be like. And so, we can own the ministry and, be a part of our own development.
Yeah. Minister Browne, thank you so much
Thanks.
for being here. You've heard there from the minister, the newly minted Minister of Amerindian Affairs, the Honorable Sarah Browne. Stay with us here on the National Communications Network. We have a lot more to share with you, similar to what we bring to you here on Beyond the Title. With that being said, my name is Shaquan Gill, and I'm saying goodbye for now. Excellent stuff.